Good morning. It is 6:54 a.m. on Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. September 25th, 2018. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Last night I watched Mr. Smith Goes to Washington for the first time. This was number 26 on the AFI's top 100 list. Making my way down the list, and there's not that many more movies on the list that I haven't seen yet, but this was one of them. So this was my first time watching it. It's a Frank Capra 1939 movie with Jimmy Stewart. And I will say that, like, at the beginning, I was feeling a little bit, you know, like it was, had a bunch of sort of unearned emotion in it. Um, I guess how do I explain this? I guess the very beginning, before Jimmy Stewart's character actually shows up, I felt like there's a lot of stuff that was happening that just felt very sort of precious, and especially stuff dealing with, like, the governor's kids and how he got the idea to appoint Jeff Smith, Jimmy Stewart's character, as the new senator. So some of that stuff didn't really work for me, but I think overall, you may be detecting some mixed feelings in me right now, and so what I will say essentially is that it's a very good movie, no question about it. I mean, once it kind of gets past that point, Jimmy Stewart's just charisma as an actor, and I really also liked all the business with Saunders and Diz, these supporting characters. His secretary and one of her best friend, who's a journalist, respectively. All the business with them was really good, and the central drama of the story really sucked me in, which, if you've never seen it, is basically the story of a wide-eyed, naive idealist who sort of gets appointed as a temporary senator when the old senator dies, and he's only supposed to be there for a couple of months until there's a new election. And they specifically pick him because they think, he doesn't know anything. He will be easy to manipulate. But then he stands up for himself and pushes back against corporate graft and corruption, and ends up having to fight the political machine. And, because it's a, feel-good Capra movie, he is successful at the end. And the movie is very good, and I enjoyed it on that level, but to the extent that I'm having mixed feelings right now, it's really just kind of feeling a little bit cynical about our current state of politics, and just feeling like, this movie was made in 1939. It's almost 80 years ago, and I don't feel like we've really made any progress at all on the central problems identified in it's in there, like the idea that big corporate interests control the politicians for their own benefit and against the interests of the little people. Yeah, I mean, I think if it, I don't know, like, if to say that it's worse today is complicated because, obviously I wasn't alive back in the day, in 1939. And I think that it kind of comes and goes, perhaps. But I certainly don't think it's, the problem has not gone away. Certainly we've got very strong issues with that exact subject going on right now. And it's hard for me to, so the big climax comes essentially when his passion for defending his good name, even after they're trying to frame him for the very crime that he was trying to expose. Like, his passion in defending himself essentially inspires the guilty conscience of one of the people doing it to him to confess, and so we get a happy ending, and everybody's like, "Oh, yay!" But like, that doesn't happen in real life. Like, even if you get one person whose conscience breaks and they over upset the whole apple cart, like everyone else just kicks in. I don't know. I just like, I guess that's my frustration is I liked the movie, but it's hard to see it as anything other than sentiment because I don't know that I believe a story like that could happen in real life. But then again, it's like I don't want to completely give up on it because the speech that you know Saunders gives Jimmy Stewart in the movie, when he's at his lowest and he's feeling that same thing that this whole place is a swamp and it's going to be, it's pointless to try to do anything. And she tells him, it's like, well, but all of these guys that you have as political heroes, like they accomplished things specifically because they were willing to do what seemed crazy at the time, which is fight against all of that overwhelming odds. And even if it seems pointless, and even if most of the people who try it lose, you don't get any victories unless you keep trying. I think that's probably true, but it's also just, I think mostly they lose. I don't know. I'm just feeling grumpy about that this morning, I think. Anyway, it's a good movie, but I'm cynical about politics right now. So I'll leave it there for right now, and I will talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.